It's our 10th anniversary, and I'm sitting in my cramped IT repair shop watching rain streak down the windows like tears on a widow's face. The irony isn't lost on me. Today should be about celebration, about remembering the woman I married a decade ago in that little church outside Chicago. Instead, I'm staring at a text message that reads, "Sorry, honey, Porter needs me for the Hawaii conference. Rain check on dinner?" My name is Troy Venner, and I fix computers for a living. Not glamorous, but it pays the bills and keeps me grounded in a world where everything seems to be breaking down faster than I can repair it. My wife Kara works for Kellor and Associates, one of those gleaming downtown law firms where everyone wears suits that cost more than my monthly rent and talks in corporate speak that makes my head spin. The shop bell chimes, and Mrs. Henderson shuffles in with her ancient laptop. "Troy, dear, it's making that noise again," she says, setting the machine on my counter with the reverence of someone handling a religious artifact. "Let me guess. Sounds like a garbage disposal eating marbles?" I ask, already knowing the answer. Mrs. Henderson's laptop has been on life support for 3 years, but she refuses to let it go. Kind of like my marriage, I think, then immediately feel guilty for the comparison. "That's exactly right. How did you know?" Because I've heard it 50 times before, I want to say. Instead, I smile and tell her I'll have it ready by Friday. She pays in cash, exact change, and shuffles back into the rain. The shop falls quiet again, leaving me alone with my thoughts and that text message. Hawaii. Of course it's Hawaii. When Kara first mentioned this conference 3 weeks ago, she was practically vibrating with excitement. "It's such an honor, Troy. Porter specifically requested me for the strategic planning sessions." She'd been trying on outfits for days, asking my opinion on dresses that seemed awfully fancy for business meetings. Porter Kellor. The man's name tastes bitter in my mouth. 50-something, silver-haired, drives a BMW that costs more than most people make in a year. He's been Kara's boss for 2 years now, ever since she transferred to the corporate litigation department. Suddenly, she started working late, attending weekend seminars, and talking about Porter's brilliant legal strategies over dinner. My phone buzzes. Another text from Kara. "Flight boards in an hour. Love you." I stare at the message, remembering this morning when she modeled her travel outfit. A flowing sundress that hugged her curves in ways that seemed inappropriate for a professional conference. "Is this too much?" she'd asked, twirling in front of our bedroom mirror. "For a business trip? Maybe," I'd said, but she'd already decided. The matching luggage set was another red flag. Louis Vuitton, purchased specifically for this trip. "I need to look professional," she'd explained when I questioned the expense. Image matters in my field. Since when did image matter more than our anniversary? I close the shop early and drive home through streets that seem grayer than usual. Our house sits on Maple Street, a modest 2-story that we bought when we still believed in forever. The mortgage payments are manageable, the neighbors are friendly, and there's a big oak tree in the backyard where we used to talk about hanging a swing for the children we never had. Inside, the silence feels oppressive. Kara left me a casserole in the refrigerator with heating instructions taped to the top. "Sorry I can't be there for our special day," the note reads. "Make it up to you when I get back." I heat the casserole, chicken and rice, nothing fancy, and eat it while scrolling through my phone. Kara's social media is already active. A photo of her at the airport, designer luggage arranged artfully beside her. "Off to Hawaii for an important conference. Wish me luck." The post has 17 likes already. Something about the photo bothers me. The luggage, yes, but something else. I zoom in and notice the departure gate in the background. Gate B12. I know O'Hare's layout pretty well from years of picking up visiting relatives. Gate B12 serves flights to vacation destinations, not business hubs. Curious, I check the airline's website. Flight 447 to Honolulu, departing at 6:15 p.m. First-class seats still available. I wonder who's paying for Kara's ticket. My laptop chimes with an email notification. The sender's address is unfamiliar, truthteller 2024a@protonmail.com. The subject line reads, Hope Hawaii's fun. Check your shared cloud. My stomach clenches. Kara and I share a cloud storage account for household documents and photos. I haven't accessed it in months, trusting her to manage our digital life like she manages everything else. With trembling fingers, I log in. The recent uploads folder contains photos I've never seen before. Kara at the airport, but not the sanitized version she posted online. These show her with Porter Kellor, their luggage side by side, his hand resting possessively on her lower back. Another photo captures them at the check-in counter, heads bent together over what appears to be a single confirmation number. I scroll through more images, my chest tightening with each one, Porter helping Kara with her carry-on bag. The two of them sharing what looks like an intimate conversation near the departure gate. A final shot of them boarding the plane together, Porter's hand guiding her down the jetway. These aren't business colleagues traveling to the same conference. These are two people who've done this before, who moved together with the practiced ease of familiarity. I lean back in my desk chair, staring at the ceiling where a water stain has been growing for months. Kara keeps promising to call someone about the roof leak, but there's always something more important. Porter's cases, Porter's strategies, Porter's brilliant insights that simply cannot wait. The anonymous emailer included a message. Thought you should know. A friend. A friend. In this neighborhood, everyone knows everyone else's business. Mrs. Patterson across the street has lived here for 40 years and considers herself the unofficial neighborhood watch coordinator. Mr. Jameson next door is retired and spends his days tending his garden and observing the comings and goings on Maple Street. Any one of them could have noticed things I was too trusting to see. I pour myself a drink, whiskey, neat, and return to the computer. The shared cloud contains more than just today's photos. Digging deeper, I find deleted files that my IT background allows me to recover. Email confirmations for previous trips, restaurant reservations for 2, hotel bookings that don't match Kara's claimed business itinerary. The Ritz-Carlton Maui, oceanfront suite, 3 nights. Confirmation number under Porter Kellor's name, but the guest list includes K. Venner. My wife, registered as his companion for what she told me was a solo business retreat. I finish the whiskey and pour another. Outside, the rain has intensified, drumming against the windows like an accusation. Our wedding photo sits on the mantel, Kara radiant in white, me grinning like I'd won the lottery. 10 years ago, I thought I had. My phone rings. Kara's number appears on the screen, probably calling from the plane before takeoff. I let it go to voicemail, then play the message back. Hi, honey. Just wanted to say goodbye before we take off. The flight's been delayed, but Porter says we'll still make it in time for the opening session tomorrow. Don't wait up. I'll probably be exhausted when we land. Love you, Porter says. Not the airline, not the conference organizers. Porter says. I delete the message and open my laptop again. Time to do what I do best. Dig into the digital trail that people think they've erased. Kara may understand corporate law, but she's never grasped the fundamental truth of modern life. Nothing digital ever truly disappears. The recovery software I use for client data works just as well on personal accounts. Within an hour, I've reconstructed months of deleted emails, text messages, and calendar entries. The picture that emerges makes my chest feel hollow. Strategic planning session in San Francisco last month, actually a weekend at a Napa Valley resort. Client development seminar in Denver, 2 nights at a mountain lodge with couples spa packages. Bar Association conference in Miami, oceanfront hotel suite and dinner reservations at the most romantic restaurants in South Beach. Each trip carefully documented, each lie meticulously planned. Kara hasn't just been unfaithful. She's been building an alternate life, one conference at a time. I find her personal journal, backed up automatically to our shared account. The entries from our 7th anniversary 3 years ago make for particularly painful reading. Another suffocating anniversary dinner. Troy got me earrings, generic, thoughtless, probably picked them up at the mall during lunch. He tries so hard to be romantic, but there's no spark, no passion. Sometimes I wonder if I settled for stability instead of love. Porter would never give such a generic gift. When he looks at me, I feel alive in ways I'd forgotten were possible. Porter. Even 3 years ago, she was comparing me to her boss, finding me lacking in ways I never suspected. I remember those earrings. I'd spent weeks saving for them, had them specially engraved with the date of our first dance. She'd smiled and thanked me, then apparently wrote about how thoughtless they were. The journal entries become more explicit as they progress. Detailed accounts of stolen moments in Porter's office, weekend getaways disguised as business trips, elaborate plans to restructure our finances so she could leave me without financial hardship. She'd been planning her exit strategy for years, methodically untangling our shared life, while I remained obliviously faithful. My phone buzzes with a text from Kara's flight. Landed safely. Conference starts early tomorrow. Probably won't be able to call much. Packed schedule. Miss you. Miss me. Right. I close the laptop and sit in the darkening living room, listening to the rain and the house settling around me. 10 years of marriage, and I've been competing with Porter Kellor without even knowing there was a contest. Worse, I've been losing that contest for years, while believing I was building a life with the woman I loved. The anonymous emailer was right. I should know. But knowing and acting are different things entirely. Kara and Porter think they're clever, think their elaborate deception is foolproof. They've forgotten something crucial. I make my living finding hidden problems and fixing them. Tomorrow, I'll start fixing this one. I wake up on the couch at 6 a.m. with a crick in my neck and the taste of whiskey coating my tongue. Kara's absence fills the house like a presence of its own. No coffee brewing, no morning news chattering from the kitchen TV, no hurried footsteps on the hardwood floors. My phone shows 3 missed calls from my mother and a text message. Happy anniversary, sweetie. Give Kara our love. If only she knew where to send it. I shower, dress, and drive to the shop through morning traffic that seems particularly aggressive today. Everyone's in a hurry to get somewhere, to be someone, to matter in ways that apparently elude middle-aged IT repair shop owners whose wives prefer their boss's company. The shop feels different this morning, smaller somehow. I've been running Venner computer services for 8 years, ever since the tech company I worked for downsized me out of a job. It's honest work, helping people recover lost files and resurrect ancient machines they can't afford to replace. But sitting here surrounded by broken computers, I wonder if Kara sees my business the way she saw those anniversary earrings, generic, thoughtless, insufficient. Mrs. Henderson's laptop sits on my workbench, making a grinding garbage disposal-like noise. I pop the case and find what I expected. Dust bunnies the size of hamsters clogging the cooling fan. 15 minutes of cleaning, and the machine purrs like new. If only marriages were so easily repaired. My first customer arrives at 9, Jimmy Torino, whose gaming computer has been running slower than a government website. Jimmy's 19, works part-time at the grocery store, and treats his computer like a classic car that needs constant tuning. It's the graphics card, Mr. Venner. I know it is. Been saving up for a new one, but rent's due and Mom needs help with groceries. I run diagnostics, while Jimmy hovers anxiously. The graphics card is fine. His problem is malware from questionable websites and a hard drive that's 97% full. I clean the system, delete unnecessary files, and install better antivirus software. How much I owe you? Jimmy asks, already reaching for his wallet. $20 for the software, I tell him. The rest is on the house. Mr. Venner, I can't. Kid, you remind me of myself at your age. Take care of your mom, stay out of trouble, and maybe someday you'll help someone else who needs it. Jimmy thanks me 3 times before leaving. It's a good feeling, helping people solve their problems. Too bad, I can't solve my own as easily. At lunch, I drive across town to Kellor and Associates. The building is all glass and steel, reaching toward the sky like a chrome-plated middle finger extended at the modest businesses surrounding it. I park across the street and watch the lunch crowd emerge, men in expensive suits, women in power outfits that cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. I'm not sure what I'm looking for until I see her. Jenna Walsh, Kara's closest friend at the firm. Jenna's been to our house for dinner parties, girls' nights, and holiday gatherings. She's single, ambitious, and treats marriage like a quaint tradition that sensible people outgrow. Jenna exits the building with two other women, all of them laughing at something one of them said. They head toward an upscale restaurant where the appetizers cost more than Jimmy Torino makes in a day. I follow at a distance, park down the street, and wait. 45 minutes later, they emerge. Jenna's companions head back toward the office, but she walks in the opposite direction, toward a small park where office workers eat lunch on sunny days. Today's overcast and cool, so she has the place mostly to herself. I approach casually, like someone out for a walk who happened to spot a familiar face. Jenna, Troy Venner, Kara's husband. She turns, and for just a moment, I see something flicker across her face. Surprise? Guilt? Then her professional smile slides into place. Troy, what a surprise. What brings you downtown? Client meeting, I lie smoothly. How's the Hawaii conference going? Kara's been so excited about it. Another flicker, more pronounced this time. Jenna's smile wavers slightly. Oh, you know how these things are. Lots of meetings, strategic planning sessions, very intensive. I bet. Porter must be thrilled to have Kara's input on such important matters. Now Jenna looks distinctly uncomfortable. She glances at her watch. Expensive, probably a bonus gift from the firm. I should get back. Busy afternoon ahead. Of course. Tell Kara I said hi when you talk to her. I will, Jenna says, but she's already walking away, her heels clicking rapidly against the pavement. I watch her retreat, noting the tension in her shoulders, the way she keeps glancing back as if afraid I'm following. Jenna knows something, and she's not nearly as good at hiding it as she thinks. Back at the shop, I spend the afternoon diving deeper into the digital evidence. The recovery software reveals more deleted files, including email exchanges between Kara and Jenna that paint a disturbing picture of coordinated deception. Troy's getting suspicious, Kara wrote 2 months ago. He asked about the Denver trip, wanted to see my conference materials. Jenna's response: stick to the story. I'll back you up if he calls the office. Porter's covering the expenses through the client development budget. No paper trail leading back to personal accounts. Client development budget. I cross-reference this with Kara's expense reports, which she's careless enough to leave in our shared files. The pattern becomes clear. Porter has been funneling money through various firm accounts to pay for their romantic getaways, with Jenna helping to create false documentation. This isn't just adultery. It's embezzlement. I print everything, creating a paper trail that would make any prosecutor weep with joy. Bank records, email exchanges, expense reports, hotel confirmations, restaurant receipts. The evidence fills a manila folder that grows thicker with each page. My phone rings. Kara's number appears on the screen, probably calling from her oceanfront suite while Porter orders room service and plans their evening activities. I let it ring. The voicemail she leaves is a masterpiece of casual deception. Hi, honey. Just finished our first day of sessions. So much information to process. Porter says tomorrow will be even more intensive. The hotel's nice, very professional atmosphere. I'm exhausted, so I'll probably turn in early. Love you. Professional atmosphere. The Ritz-Carlton Maui, with its couples spa, romantic restaurants, and oceanfront suites designed for intimate getaways. Very professional indeed. I delete the message and return to my research. The firm's website lists upcoming conferences and seminars, none of which mention Hawaii. A quick call to the Hawaii Bar Association confirms what I already suspected. No major legal conferences scheduled for this week. Porter and Kara aren't attending a conference. They're on vacation, using firm money to fund their romantic escape while lying to everyone who matters. Porter's wife, my wife's family, the firm's partners, and me. The thought of Porter's wife brings me up short. Elin Rydell. I remember meeting her at the firm's holiday party last year. Elegant, intelligent, probably 15 years younger than her husband. She seemed genuinely nice, asking about my business and remembering details from our conversation when we met again at the spring barbecue. Elin deserves to know what her husband is doing with firm money and my wife. More importantly, she deserves to know before Porter and Kara return from their fake conference, tanned and relaxed and ready to resume their double lives. I find Elin's contact information in Kara's phone backup. Apparently, the wives of cheating spouses sometimes exchange pleasantries at firm functions. Her email address is simple: allen.rydell@gmail.com. Composing the message takes me 3 tries. Too aggressive, and she might dismiss it as the ravings of a jealous husband. Too subtle, and she might miss the implications entirely. Finally, I settle on something direct but professional. Dear Elin, I hope this message finds you well. I'm Troy Venner, Kara's husband. We met at the firm's holiday party last year. I'm writing because I've discovered some information about Porter and Kara's current trip to Hawaii that I believe you should see. I've attached photos and documentation that speak for themselves. I understand this is difficult information to receive, and I'm sorry to be the bearer of such news. If you'd like to discuss this further, please don't hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, Troy Venner. I attach the airport photos, hotel confirmations, and expense reports, then hover my cursor over the send button. Once I send this email, there's no going back. Porter and Kara's secret will become Elin's knowledge, and the carefully constructed lies that have sustained their affair will begin to crumble. The cursor blinks, waiting for my decision. Outside, the rain has started again, drumming against the shop windows like impatient fingers. Somewhere in Hawaii, my wife is probably getting ready for dinner with her lover, choosing between outfits that she bought with our joint credit card. I click send. The email disappears into cyberspace, carrying with it the evidence that will destroy 2 marriages and possibly several careers. I should feel guilty, but instead, I feel something approaching relief. For months, I've been living in a world where nothing made sense. Kara's distance, her constant work obligations, her sudden interest in expensive clothes and exotic travel destinations. Now it all makes sense. The question is what to do with that knowledge. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Received your email. Can we meet tomorrow? This is Elin. Tomorrow. Less than 24 hours, and the other betrayed spouse wants to compare notes. I wonder what she's thinking right now, looking at the same photos that shattered my comfortable illusions. Is she angry? Heartbroken? Planning revenge? I text back, of course. My shop address is 1247 Oak Street. Any time after 9 a.m. works for me. Her response comes immediately. See you at 10. And Troy, thank you for telling me. I close the shop early and drive home through streets that seem different now, charged with possibility. The house still feels empty, but it's a different kind of emptiness. Not the hollow absence of someone I love, but the clean space left behind when you finally remove something that was never supposed to be there in the first place. I heat another casserole, pour another whiskey, and sit at my desk planning my next moves. Kara and Porter think they're safe in their Hawaiian paradise, protected by distance and deception. They have no idea that their carefully constructed lies are about to collapse, or that the 2 people they've betrayed are about to become allies in ways they never imagined. Tomorrow, Elin and I will compare notes. Then we'll decide how to make them pay. Elin Rydell arrives at my shop at exactly 10 a.m., driving a silver Mercedes that probably costs more than I make in 2 years. Through the window, I watch her sit in the car for a full minute, gathering courage or composure, maybe both. She doesn't check her phone or adjust the mirror. She just stares straight ahead, jaw set, breathing slow and deliberate, like someone rehearsing a difficult conversation one last time before stepping onto a stage. When she finally emerges, she moves with the careful control of someone holding herself together through sheer willpower, every step measured, every motion economical, as if excess movement might cause something inside her to spill out. She's dressed professionally but not ostentatiously. Dark slacks pressed with military precision, a cream-colored blouse buttoned conservatively, minimal jewelry chosen more for habit than vanity. Her auburn hair is pulled back in a simple ponytail that suggests efficiency over style, and she's wearing sunglasses despite the overcast morning, the gray sky hanging low and heavy above the street. When she removes them, the reason becomes obvious. I see the evidence of a sleepless night in the faint shadows under her green eyes, the kind that no amount of makeup can fully hide, the kind earned by hours of staring at screens and replaying memories you wish you could unsee. "Troy," she says, extending her hand. Her grip is firm, businesslike, practiced. There's no hesitation, no softness, just a clean, decisive shake. "Thank you for agreeing to meet. Thank you for coming. I know this can't be easy." It's a polite understatement, and we both know it. Conversations like this never are. She glances around the shop, taking in the cluttered workbenches, the open cases, the towers of broken computers, stacked like the remains of failed experiments. The air smells faintly of dust and overheated circuitry. "Is there somewhere we can talk privately?" she asks, lowering her voice instinctively, as if the machines themselves might be listening. I lead her to the small office in the back, pushing aside a box of cables with my foot and clearing papers from the extra chair. The space is cramped, utilitarian, lit by a single fluorescent bulb that hums softly overhead. She sits carefully, maintaining perfect posture, hands folded in her lap, knees together. Everything about her screams control and self-discipline, but up close I can see the cracks in the facade, the tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers press a little too tightly against each other. "I spent most of last night going through Porter's credit card statements," she begins without preamble, her tone precise and clipped, like a report delivered to a boardroom. The pattern goes back 18 months. Hotels, restaurants, flights, all charged to firm accounts but clearly personal in nature. She says it calmly, but there's an edge underneath, sharpened by repetition and disbelief. I nod, impressed by her thoroughness and the speed with which she's moved from suspicion to confirmation. Kara's been more careful with the financial trail, but the digital evidence is extensive. Emails, text messages, calendar entries. They've been planning these trips for years. Saying it out loud makes it sound even worse, like a long-term project instead of a betrayal. Elin reaches into her purse and withdraws a manila folder similar to mine, thick enough to strain the clasp. "I printed everything I could find. Porter's not as tech-savvy as he thinks. He saved passwords in his browser, backed up his phone to our shared computer. I have photos, messages, hotel receipts going back to their first trip together." Her mouth tightens slightly as she speaks, as if each word tastes bitter. We spread the documents across my desk like generals planning a campaign, papers overlapping, dates and destinations lining up with brutal clarity. The evidence is overwhelming. Dozens of trips, thousands of dollars in expenses, hundreds of lies told casually, routinely, to cover their tracks. What emerges is a picture of two people who've been living double lives with the easy confidence of those who believe rules are for other people and consequences are optional. "The firm's expense policies are very clear," Elin continues, her voice steady but cold now, stripped of any remaining warmth. "Personal expenses charged to client accounts constitute embezzlement. The Bar Association takes a dim view of attorneys who steal from their own firms." There's a quiet satisfaction in her words, not joy exactly, but certainty. What about the partners? Do they know? Not yet. Porter's been very careful to spread the expenses across different accounts, different clients. He thought that would make it invisible. She pauses, then adds softly, "But once someone starts looking—" She trails off, leaving the rest unsaid, the outcome already obvious. I study her face, trying to read her intentions beyond the legal implications. Revenge wears many disguises. What do you want to do with this information? For the first time, her composure cracks slightly. Her jaw tightens, and I see a flash of something fierce and unrestrained in her green eyes, something that's been held back for far too long. I want them to pay, Troy. Not just financially, though there will be consequences there too. I want them to experience the same humiliation they've put us through. Her voice drops, steady but charged. Public exposure? Among other things. She pulls out her phone and turns the screen toward me, showing a text message from Porter sent 3 hours ago. "Missing you already. Can't wait to show you the sunset from our balcony tonight. This place is paradise." Our balcony. Not his balcony, not the hotel balcony. Our balcony, as if they're already a couple, already sharing a life that exists parallel to their actual marriages, built on secrets and stolen time. "I have an idea," I tell her, and explain my plan. Elin listens intently, occasionally asking questions or suggesting modifications. By the time we finish, we have a comprehensive strategy that will expose Porter and Kara's affair in the most damaging way possible to their careers, their reputations, and their carefully constructed fantasy that they're somehow the victims in this scenario. "There's something else," Elin says as we prepare to leave. "I hired a private investigator last month. I had suspicions, but no proof. The investigator found something interesting, a property rental agreement." She hands me a document that makes my stomach clench. Porter and Kara have been renting a beachfront condo in Santa Barbara, listed as an investment property, but clearly used for their romantic getaways. The lease is in both their names, signed 18 months ago. "They've been playing house," I say, staring at the signatures. Kara's handwriting, so familiar from years of grocery lists and birthday cards, now used to formalize her betrayal. It gets worse. The security deposit and first month's rent came from your joint account. Kara transferred the money to Porter's personal account. Then he wrote the check to the property management company. My money. Kara used my money to rent a love nest with her boss, then lied to my face about where the money went. I remember the conversation now. She said it was for a work conference in California, a professional development opportunity that would benefit her career. "I want to see it," I tell Elin. "The condo. I want to see where they've been playing their little game." She nods. The investigator has photos, but I think seeing it in person would be more educational. "Are you free this weekend?" "I'll make myself free." We exchange phone numbers and agree to stay in contact as we implement our plan. As Elin prepares to leave, she turns back to me with an expression I can't quite read. "Troy, can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "When did you know?" "Not suspect." "No." I think about the question, remembering the moment when suspicion crystallized into certainty. Last night, reading her journal entries. She wrote about our anniversary 3 years ago, called my gift thoughtless and generic. I spent weeks picking out those earrings, had them engraved with the date of our first dance. In her mind, I was already inadequate compared to Porter. Elin's expression softened slightly. I knew 6 months ago. Porter started working out, buying new clothes, using cologne I'd never smelled before. When a 50-year-old man suddenly starts caring about his appearance, there's usually a reason. Why didn't you confront him? Same reason you didn't confront Kara, I imagine. Hope. The desperate, stupid hope that you're wrong, that the person you married still exists somewhere underneath the lies. After she leaves, I sit in the empty shop thinking about hope and betrayal, about the different ways people destroy the things they're supposed to protect. My phone rings, a customer with a virus-infected laptop, and I return to the familiar rhythm of diagnosis and repair. But my mind keeps drifting to Hawaii, to the oceanfront suite, where my wife is probably lounging by the pool with her lover, planning their next lie, their next theft, their next betrayal of the people who trusted them most. They think they're safe. They think their distance and deception protect them from consequences. They have no idea that their victims have found each other, compared notes, and begun planning a response that will shatter their paradise more thoroughly than any hurricane. At 5 p.m., I close the shop and drive to the boxing gym where I've been working out for the past 2 years. The gym is old school. Heavy bags, speed bags, a single ring where local fighters train for matches that will never make them famous, but might make them proud. The air smells of sweat and determination, honest odors that contrast sharply with the perfumed deception that has infected my marriage. Derek Martinez, the gym's owner and head trainer, nods as I enter. Derek's 60-something, built like a fire hydrant, with hands that have seen more fights than most people see movies. He doesn't talk much, but he notices everything. "You look like someone who needs to hit something," he observes, wrapping my hands with practiced efficiency. Something like that. I spend 45 minutes working the heavy bag, throwing combinations that Derek taught me, focusing on technique and power. The physical exertion helps clear my mind, channeling anger into something productive. By the time I finish, my shirt is soaked with sweat and my knuckles ache despite the protective wrapping. "Feel better?" Derek asks. "Getting there." He studies my face with the intensity of someone who's learned to read people through their fighting styles. "Whatever's eating at you, don't let it make you stupid. Smart fighters pick their battles. Smart men do the same." I nod, understanding the advice beneath the advice. Derek's seen plenty of men work through personal problems in his gym, and he's learned to recognize the difference between therapeutic violence and self-destructive rage. "Thanks, Derek. See you Thursday." "Troy." He stops me at the door. "Whatever you're planning, make sure it's worth the cost." Driving home, I think about Derek's words and Elin's plan and the evidence folder sitting in my office safe. Tomorrow, Kara and Porter will return from their fake conference, tanned and relaxed, and ready to resume their double lives. They'll kiss their respective spouses, share edited stories about boring meetings and professional networking, and begin planning their next romantic getaway. But they won't know that their victims have become allies, that their digital trails have been mapped and documented, that their financial crimes have been discovered and cataloged. They won't know that their paradise is about to become their prison, and that the people they've betrayed are about to become their judges. My phone buzzes with a text from Kara. "Last night in paradise. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Miss you so much." I delete the message without responding. Tomorrow she'll be home, and our real anniversary celebration can finally begin. Kara's flight lands at 3:47 p.m. on Thursday, and I'm waiting in our kitchen when she walks through the front door at 5:15. She's glowing with the kind of deep tan that comes from days spent poolside, and her hair has been professionally styled in a way that screams expensive resort salon. She's wearing a flowing white dress that I've never seen before, probably purchased during one of her Hawaiian shopping expeditions with Porter. "Troy?" She drops her new luggage and rushes to embrace me, her arms wrapping around my neck with what feels like genuine enthusiasm. For a moment, I almost believe the performance. "I missed you so much." She smells like tropical flowers and expensive sunscreen, scents that don't exist in our Midwestern suburb. Her skin is warm from the Hawaiian sun, and when she kisses me, I taste coconut lip balm and lies. "How was the conference?" I ask, pulling back to study her face. She's practiced this moment, I realize. Her expression is perfectly calibrated, tired from travel but energized by professional success, apologetic about missing our anniversary, but excited to share her experiences. Incredible. So much information to process. Porter says it was one of the most productive conferences he's ever attended. She moves around the kitchen as she talks, unpacking items from her carry-on bag. Look what I brought you. She produces a gift bag containing a Hawaiian shirt in a pattern so garish it could cause seizures. The price tag is still attached, $89.99 from a hotel gift shop, a guilt purchase bought during the final hours of her romantic getaway. It's perfect, I lie, holding up the shirt. Very thoughtful. I felt so bad about missing our anniversary. But you understand, right? This was such an important opportunity for my career. Right. I nod sympathetically while she continues unpacking, producing souvenirs that tell the real story of her trip. Matching his and hers coffee mugs from a couple's resort. A photo album filled with sunset pictures that include Porter's shadow. A bottle of wine from a restaurant that, according to my research, specializes in romantic dinners for two. Tell me about the sessions, I say, settling into my chair at our kitchen table. What kind of strategic planning were you working on? Kara's hesitation lasts only a fraction of a second, but I catch it. She's prepared for this question, but not quite prepared enough. Oh, you know how these things are. Market analysis, client development strategies, long-term planning for the litigation department, very technical stuff, probably boring for someone outside the industry. Porter must have been pleased with your input. Another micro-hesitation. He was very complimentary about my contributions. Said I have real insight into the direction the firm should be heading. I'll bet he did. I wonder what other directions Porter discussed with my wife while they were sharing that oceanfront suite and charging couples spa treatments to the firm's client development account. I'm making dinner, Kara announces, moving toward the refrigerator with the brisk efficiency of someone eager to change the subject. Your favorite, grilled salmon with that rice pilaf you like. She cooks while chattering about Hawaiian cuisine, the beauty of the conference center, and the networking opportunities she discovered. Her performance is flawless, the product of years of practice. If I didn't have a folder full of evidence sitting in my office safe, I might actually believe her. We eat dinner while she shows me photos on her phone, carefully curated images that support her conference story. Meeting rooms, business lunches, professional seminars. Nothing that reveals the romantic dinners, couples activities, or intimate moments that I know filled her days. I have something for you too, I tell her as we clear the dishes. Her face brightens with what looks like genuine pleasure. Really? Troy? You didn't have to… It's not much. Just something I thought you'd appreciate. I hand her a manila envelope, watching her expression as she opens it. The airport photos are on top, images of her and Porter looking very much like a couple embarking on a romantic vacation. Her face goes through a fascinating series of changes: confusion, recognition, fear, and finally, calculation. Troy, I can explain… Can you? Because I'd love to hear how you explain the hotel reservations, the couple's spa appointments, the romantic dinners, and the 18 months of lies that made it all possible. She sets the photos down carefully, her hands trembling slightly. The tan seems to fade from her face as the implications sink in. How did you… I fix computers for a living, Kara. Digital forensics is part of the job. Amazing what people think they've deleted permanently. She's quiet for a long moment, staring at the evidence of her betrayal spread across our kitchen table. When she finally looks up, I see something I haven't seen in years. The real Kara, without the professional polish and carefully constructed facades. It wasn't supposed to happen this way, she says quietly. Which part? The affair, the embezzlement, or getting caught? Her head snaps up. Embezzlement? I slide more documents across the table. Firm credit cards used for personal expenses, client accounts charged for romantic getaways, The Bar Association has very specific rules about attorneys who steal from their employers. The color drains completely from her face now. Adultery is a personal failing, but embezzlement is a career-ending crime that could result in disbarment and prosecution. Porter handles all the expense reporting. Porter's not here, Kara. You are. And these receipts have your signature on them. She picks up one of the expense reports, her hands shaking as she recognizes her own handwriting. The Santa Barbara weekend, justified as a client development seminar, but actually spent at the beachfront condo they've been renting with my money. "What do you want?" she asks, and I hear the first note of desperation creeping into her voice. "I want the truth. All of it. How long, how much money, what you were planning to do next." She's crying now, mascara running down her cheeks in dark streams that remind me of the rain on my shop windows. 2 years. It started 2 years ago at the firm retreat. Porter was having problems with Elin, and I was feeling disconnected from you, from our marriage. It just happened. Just happened. Like the condo rental just happened. Like stealing from my grandmother's account just happened. Her head jerks up sharply. "How do you know about the power of attorney you obtained while I was out of town? About the $87,000 you transferred to your personal account? About moving Grandma to that understaffed facility so you'd have more money for your romantic getaways?" She's sobbing now, great heaving sobs that shake her entire body. "I was going to pay it back. Once Porter left Elin, once we could be together openly. When was that going to happen? After you'd stolen everything I owned? After you'd destroyed my family and his? You don't understand. Porter and I, we have something special, something real. What you and I have, it's just comfortable, safe. But it's not love, Troy, not the kind of love that makes you feel alive." I stare at my wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife, and feel something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, not heartbreak, but a kind of crystalline clarity that cuts through years of self-doubt and misplaced loyalty. "You're right," I tell her. "It's not love. Love doesn't steal from elderly relatives. Love doesn't lie about conferences while spending other people's money on romantic vacations. What you and Porter have isn't love either. It's selfishness with better marketing." She wipes her eyes, smearing mascara across her cheek. "What happens now?" "Now you pack a bag and find somewhere else to stay. Tomorrow you start looking for a new job because your current employment is about to become very complicated." "Troy, please, can't we work this out? Go to counseling, try to rebuild." "Rebuild what? A marriage based on lies? A relationship where you steal from my family to fund your affair? There's nothing left to rebuild, Kara." She sits in silence for several minutes, occasionally wiping her eyes with tissues that quickly become sodden. Finally, she stands and moves toward the stairs. "I'll pack some things, but Troy, this isn't over. Porter and I, we're not going to just disappear because you found some photos." I watch her climb the stairs to our bedroom, listening to the sounds of drawers opening and closing, hangers rattling in the closet. 20 minutes later, she returns with a suitcase and an expression that's hardened into something approaching defiance. "I'll be staying at Jenna's," she announces. "My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce proceedings." "Your lawyer might want to focus on the criminal charges first," I suggest. "Embezzlement carries serious penalties in this state." She pauses at the front door, looking back at me with an expression I can't quite read. "You know what your problem is, Troy? You never fought for anything. Not for me, not for our marriage, not for anything that mattered. You just accepted whatever life handed you and called it contentment. Maybe, but I never stole from people who trusted me. I never built my happiness on other people's pain, and I never confused selfishness with love." She leaves without another word, her new luggage rolling across the hardwood floors like thunder. I hear her car start in the driveway, then pull away into the night. The house falls silent around me, but it's a different kind of silence than before. Not the hollow absence of someone I love, not the uneasy quiet filled with unanswered questions, but the clean quiet that comes after you finally remove something toxic from your life. The air feels lighter, as if the walls themselves have exhaled. For the first time in months, nothing feels unresolved. I pour myself a whiskey and call Elin. She answers on the first ring, as if she's been waiting for my call, the connection immediate and unguarded. "How did it go?" she asks. "About as well as expected. She's staying at Jenna's, probably calling Porter right now to coordinate their response." "Porter came home 3 hours ago," Elin says. "Same performance, conference stories, professional networking, guilt gifts from the hotel shop. He has no idea what's coming." "Are you ready for the next phase?" "More than ready." There's a brief pause. "Troy? Yeah? Thank you for showing me the truth, for giving me the evidence I needed. I know this isn't easy for either of us." "No," I agree, staring into the amber liquid in my glass. "But necessary things rarely are." After we hang up, I sit alone in my quiet kitchen, surrounded by printed emails, screenshots, hotel folios, and bank records laid out like pieces of a puzzle that finally makes sense. I think about justice, about revenge, and about the difference between the two. Revenge is impulsive, emotional, designed to satisfy pain. Justice is structured, deliberate, clean. Tomorrow, Porter and Kara will discover that their paradise has become a trap, and that the people they betrayed have become allies in ways they never imagined possible. They believed secrecy was power. They were wrong. But tonight, for the first time in months, I sleep peacefully in my own bed, no longer wondering where my wife really is or what she's really doing. The truth, as painful as it is, has set me free. Friday morning arrives gray and drizzling, the kind of weather that makes everything look washed out and temporary. I open the shop at 8 a.m., going through the familiar motions of booting up computers, reviewing overnight emails, and organizing work orders, while my mind stays locked on the day ahead. Routine keeps my hands steady, even when my thoughts are razor sharp. Elin arrives at 9, carrying 2 cups of coffee and wearing the expression of someone who's slept as poorly as I have. She's dressed more casually today, jeans, a soft sweater, minimal makeup, but there's a steely determination in her green eyes that wasn't there yesterday. This isn't grief anymore. This is resolve. "Porter left for work an hour ago," she reports, handing me a cup and settling into the chair across from my desk. "He was humming in the shower. Actually humming, like he doesn't have a care in the world. Kara texted me this morning," I say. "We need to talk about a fair settlement." Apparently, she thinks this is a simple divorce proceeding. Elin lets out a short laugh with no humor in it. They still don't understand what they're facing. They think they can negotiate their way out of this, charm their way past the consequences. I pull out my phone and show her the text message chain from last night. After Kara left, she'd sent a series of increasingly desperate messages, each one more revealing than the last. "Troy, please don't do anything rash. We can work this out like adults. I know you're hurt, but destroying my career won't fix our marriage. Porter says you're probably bluffing. You wouldn't really report us to the bar association. Think about what you're doing. This will hurt everyone. You, me, Porter, Elin. Is that really what you want?" I hadn't responded to any of them. I didn't need to. The progression from pleading to manipulation to veiled threats told me everything I needed to know about Kara's current mindset. "They're meeting for lunch today," Elin says. "Porter thinks he's being subtle, but he scheduled a client lunch at that Italian place on 5th Street, table for 2, reservation under his name." "Perfect," I reply. "That gives us time to implement phase 2. We spend the next hour refining our plan, coordinating timing, double-checking dates, names, and attachments. There's no emotion in it now, just logistics, sequencing, and precision. By 10:30, everything is in place. Every document is labeled, every call is queued, every consequence mapped. Elin makes the first call, to the managing partner of Kellor and Associates. Her voice is steady, professional, with just the right note of reluctant concern, the sound of someone who wishes none of this were necessary, but understands that silence would be worse. "Mr. Davidson? This is Elin Rydell, Porter's wife. I need to discuss some irregularities I've discovered in his expense reports. Yes, I understand this is unusual, but I think you'll want to see what I've found. This afternoon would be perfect." The second call goes to the State Bar Association's ethics hotline. This time I make the call, identifying myself as a concerned citizen reporting potential attorney misconduct. I don't mention my relationship to one of the subjects. That detail can emerge during their investigation. The third call is to Kara's parents, who live 2 hours away in Springfield. Elin handles this one, introducing herself as a friend of the family who thought they should know about some difficulties Kara is experiencing. "I'm sure she'll want to tell you herself," Elin says smoothly. "But she and Troy are having some marital problems, and there may be some professional complications as well. No, nothing criminal, just some workplace issues that might affect her employment. Yes, I think a visit from family would be very helpful right now." By 11 a.m., we've set multiple wheels in motion. Porter will spend his afternoon explaining 18 months of fraudulent expense reports to his managing partner. Kara will receive a call from the Bar Association requesting an interview about potential ethical violations. And both of them will discover that their respective families now know about the workplace issues that have complicated their lives. "Phase 3? Elin asks. "Phase 3. We drive across town to the Kellor and Associates building, parking in the visitor garage with a clear view of the main entrance. At 11:45, Porter emerges, walking with the confident stride of a man who believes he's successfully juggled 2 lives without consequences. He's wearing an expensive suit, probably purchased during one of his shopping expeditions with Kara, and his silver hair gleams under the lobby lights. He drives to Romano's Italian restaurant, the same place where he and Kara have conducted dozens of their business lunches. We follow at a distance, watching as he enters the restaurant and is seated at a corner table with a view of the street. Kara arrives 15 minutes later, looking nervous but determined. She's changed clothes since this morning, now wearing a black dress that's professional enough for a business meeting, but form-fitting enough to remind Porter why he's been risking his career for her company. They embrace briefly before sitting down, their body language intimate despite the public setting. Porter reaches across the table to touch her hand, and she leans forward to whisper something that makes him smile. "Look at them," Elin says, her voice tight with controlled anger. "They actually think they're the victims in this situation." We watch them order wine, expensive wine, probably charged to another fake client account, and settle into what appears to be an intense conversation. Porter gestures emphatically while Kara nods, occasionally glancing around the restaurant as if checking for surveillance. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. "This is Davidson from K&A. Need to speak with Porter immediately. Have him call my office." I show the message to Elin, who smiles grimly. That was faster than expected. Managing partners don't like discovering that their employees have been embezzling client funds. Tends to create liability issues. We watch Porter's phone ring during the main course. He glances at the screen, frowns, and declines the call. 30 seconds later, it rings again. This time, he answers with visible irritation, his voice carrying across the restaurant despite his efforts to speak quietly. "Davidson, I'm in a client meeting." "What irregularities?" "That's impossible. All my expenses are properly documented. Yes, I can be there in an hour." He ends the call and says something urgent to Kara, who immediately goes pale. They signal for the check, their romantic lunch suddenly transformed into a crisis management session. "Time for phase 4, I tell Elin. We follow them back to the law firm, watching as they enter the building together, despite Porter's obvious attempts to maintain professional distance. In the lobby, they separate, Porter heading toward the elevators while Kara veers toward the ladies' room, probably to compose herself before facing whatever storm is brewing upstairs. I wait 5 minutes, then approach the reception desk with a manila envelope. I need to deliver this to Kara Venner, I tell the receptionist, a young woman who recognizes me from previous visits. It's from her attorney regarding the divorce proceedings. The receptionist takes the envelope, which contains copies of all the evidence Elin and I have compiled, along with a note. Thought you should see what your husband shared with the managing partner. Might want to call your own attorney. A friend. 30 minutes later, we're back at my shop when Elin's phone rings. Porter's number appears on the screen, and she puts the call on speaker. Elin, we need to talk. Porter's voice is strained, lacking its usual confident authority. There's been a misunderstanding at the office, some confusion about expense reports. I'm coming home early. What kind of misunderstanding? Elin asks innocently. It's complicated. Someone's been spreading false information about my business trips, making it look like something it wasn't. I need to explain everything before you hear it from someone else. Too late for that, Porter. I heard it from someone else 2 days ago. The silence stretches for nearly 30 seconds. When Porter speaks again, his voice has changed completely. Gone is the smooth attorney, replaced by a man who's just realized how much trouble he's in. Elin, please, let me come home and explain. This isn't what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. Don't come home, Porter. My attorney will be in touch about the divorce proceedings. She ends the call and turns to me with the expression of savage satisfaction. How long do you think it will take them to realize we're working together? Not long. Kara's smart enough to connect the dots once she sees the evidence package. As if summoned by our conversation, my phone rings. Kara's number appears on the screen, and I answer with mock cheerfulness. Hello, Kara. How was lunch? You bastard. Her voice is raw with fury and fear. You sent everything to Davidson, didn't you? The photos, the expense reports, everything. I sent some information to people who had a right to know about it. Your employer, Porter's wife, the bar association. Amazing how many people are interested in attorney misconduct these days. This will destroy both our careers. Is that really what you want? I want justice, Kara. I want consequences for people who steal from their families and lie to everyone who trusts them. If that destroys your career, maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to embezzle client funds for your romantic getaways. Porter says we can fight this. His attorney thinks. Porter's attorney is about to have his hands full defending against criminal charges. You might want to focus on finding your own representation. I hang up and turn to Elin, who's been listening with obvious satisfaction. Think they'll try to blame each other? She asks. Absolutely. Porter will claim Kara seduced him and manipulated the expense reports. Kara will say Porter coerced her into the relationship and handled all the financial arrangements. Classic cheater strategy. Throw your partner under the bus and hope you land on top. My prediction proves accurate within hours. By closing time, I've received 3 more calls from Kara, each one more desperate than the last. She's willing to testify against Porter, to return the stolen money, to do whatever it takes to minimize her own exposure. Porter, according to Elin, is pursuing the same strategy from the opposite direction. Honor among thieves, Elin observes as we review the day's developments. Turns out there isn't any. We're sitting in my kitchen, sharing a bottle of wine and going through the evidence folders one more time. Tomorrow, both Porter and Kara will face formal interviews with the Bar Association. Next week, they'll likely face criminal charges for embezzlement. Their affair, which began as an escape from their respective marriages, has become a trap that will destroy both their careers and their freedom. Any regrets? I ask Elin as she prepares to leave. She considers the question seriously, swirling wine in her glass as she thinks. About Porter? None. He made his choices, and now he gets to live with the consequences. About us working together to expose them? Also none. They deserved everything they got. What about the collateral damage, their families, the firm's reputation, the other employees who might lose their jobs. Porter and Kara should have thought about that before they decided to steal from their clients. Actions have consequences, Troy. We didn't create this situation. We just refuse to be silent victims. After she leaves, I sit alone in my kitchen, surrounded by the evidence of my wife's betrayal and the systematic destruction of her career. Tomorrow, the local legal community will be buzzing with gossip about the affair, the embezzlement, and the spectacular fall of two attorneys who thought they were too clever to be caught. I should feel guilty about the devastation we've unleashed. Instead, I feel something approaching peace. For the first time in 2 years, I know exactly where my wife is and what she's doing. For the first time in months, I'm not wondering what she's hiding or who she's lying to. The truth has set me free, and the consequences have set things right. Sometimes, that's the best justice you can hope for.